light to the viewers on how serious Georgia football really is, and I'm sure you tap into other places. We all know Texas, Florida, California, those are the main ones that comes up. But really, just let them know about Georgia football. And I'm glad you said more than 7A, like as a whole. Talk about Georgia football.
Well, and I say this, sure, it's biased, but it's also unbiased at the same time. It's the best football in the nation. The reason for that is, I'm not going to say just because the talent per capita or all that stuff. I'm going to say because look at the distribution of teams in the state and the talent. There's no team in this state, beside maybe 1A Bowden, that's repeating. Who's repeating champions? No one. 4A had a new champion. Like, everybody's having a new champion. I think the parity in the state is perfect. You go to a school like New Jersey, or a state like New Jersey, for example, it's dominated by 4 private schools. You go to Cali, it's modern day St. John Bosco, De La Salle, and everybody else, right? You go to Texas, it's the Duncanville, the North Shore, and now North Crowley. But you go to Georgia, any team, we just had a 1A school, Toombs County, beat 5A Rome. So in this state, and Rome's a good team, so in this state, I think anything can happen on any given day. We were there our senior year when Lovejoy beat us. I know that was a bad one. I'll say that.
I won't talk about that.
That was a terrible night.
That was one of a few games that season we dropped.
Oh my God! And it was the first home game I'd ever lost. Our 4 years.
That was Coach Stewart's first loss at home.
Yeah. So anything can happen in the state, and I think combine that with the fact that we've got so much talent coming out of the state, especially in the trenches. You look offensive, defensive line.
Yeah, not many areas have that. Exactly. I think we dominate as far as the trenches and the players that we produce.
And that's what matters at the next level as well. We're producing that. I think when you combine all that, Georgia football is the best. Just being able to see that, of course, I didn't think it was that big. I thought it was just football. But then you get into this and you start making predictions, and man, like I was talking to a guy 3-4 weeks ago on Instagram, and he was like, yeah, every time your predictions come out for every week or year, we print those out. We put it in the weight room.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, it's not that deep, man. He's like, no, it is that deep.
It is that deep.
And I'm like, what? Why are you doing all this? And he's like, because that's how it is.
Yep.
And I said, so how did it work out? Because I knew the team that I predicted, I got the record right, preseason to end of year. So I was like, well, how did it go when, I think they went 7-3, and I was like, so I picked 7-3, how did it go? He's like, man, we were pissed off. You're not supposed to be getting this right. So I was like, okay, you know what? So it's serious. People say some really whack stuff online about this. They take their football seriously. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
And to that point, I remember just throughout the recruiting process, because I'm sure you know, I chose to prefer walk-on here. I had double-digit Division I offers at some smaller, D1 FCS AA schools, and I remember going to them, and it was a coach at a specific school who was trying to recruit me, and I remember just telling him like, I don't know, it just doesn't really seem like FCS football. And I don't mean this disrespectfully. Please don't take this the wrong way, but it seemed kind of on that level of just Georgia talent, and when you really think about like our talent specifically, or our region specifically, because we were in a loaded region. Like I said, we both went to North Gwinnett. I played with some ton of good players. And actually, while we were talking about it, my team did just have 2 college football champs with Jordan Hancock, Kaden McDonald, 2 of my guys, 2 of my close friends. Yeah, they were with Ohio State. And then CJ Uzoma with the Eagles just won a Super Bowl.
He used to play quarterback.
He was a quarterback here, yeah. And then, I could really just go on talking about the specifics of players. Like, think about
how Josh Downs.
Bro, Josh Downs.
And Tyler Goodson. And Warren Burrell on the same team.
You haven't even said Barrett Carter.
And Barrett's like,
yes, bro. Barrett's about to do big things. Jared Ivey. Like, these are all players that, these aren't players that, I fantasize. These are players I played with, and I was on the same roster. And that's just my team. I want to go take it to a step further. You know who was in our region. You had Travis Hunter at Caleb Downs at Mill Creek.
Oh, like so many good players.
Dude, just really help the people grasp like all these players that y'all see. Like I guarantee, like the draft's coming up, we're gonna have a ton of first rounders, like we always do. So just kind of help the media and those outside of Georgia, and talk about Gwinnett specifically too.
Look, I think that's the thing. So I think football in Georgia, there was like a power shift. So back in the old days, you had like the South Georgia. Lowndes and Valdosta is kind of where it was, but we're seeing more of a shift with like modernization and suburbs and all that. You're seeing Gwinnett grow, and Gwinnett has like blossomed into this really, really deep hotbed for talent. And it's weird, like it's you go to games and every week you're watching Travis Hunter play, you're watching Caleb Downs play, and sometimes you win those games and you're like, how did we just beat a top whatever? And even the players who weren't like 5 stars or whatever, they're players like Parkview had a player named Cody Brown.
Oh, for sure, the running back.
And so like like these are guys I looked forward to like watching play. I'm like every single team we played had someone good.
Yeah.
Even Peachtree Ridge had Dorian Barney before he transferred to Carrollton. So it's like
Peachtree Ridge is like top 10 in the country as far as players to play in the NFL.
exactly. So this is like Gwinnett. It's over time. Gwinnett is just blossomed into this really great region for football. You got Buford. Like Buford is like 5 minutes away from North Gwinnett,
Yes,
and you know they have stars at every position everywhere.
You seen the new stadium?
I haven't seen it in person yet because I haven't been home that much.
It's wild. It's wild.
Really? Oh
Yeah, it's crazy.
I want to go, but I mean the talent. I think Gwinnett, county-wise, there's a case that could be made. Gwinnett has the best talent in a single county in the country.
I think so, and I really I wish I had the numbers or the names to back it up. But just do y'all's research on how stacked Gwinnett County really was, and like you said, it's blossoming. And this is actually a question I didn't think of, but I mean, since you're here, I want to hear your perspective of it because Gwinnett often gets accused of recruiting. So, and we know that the recruiting is like something that shouldn't happen in college football, but with everything getting so publicized, when money getting more involved, with you just being a complete, very involved but outside viewer. What do you think of recruiting, and do you think it's something that is affecting our game?
Well, I'll be honest. I've said the same thing I've said 4 years ago when I started the account, and I'm going to keep it the same. And I don't mind talking about it as well. I'll be honest. I don't like recruiting, and it's what's happening right now at the high school level. It is. There's a lot of stuff I can't say on camera. It's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not just schools in Gwinnett. It's schools all over the state.
Oh, for
you
sure.
I'm not gonna name schools, but there's schools in Middle and South Georgia that are doing it too. And you won't hear about those because they're poaching from small schools like the 2A, 3As around them. Mm-hmm. They'll poach from them. In Gwinnett, it's a transfer of everything. You can just build a team. It's pick and choose, right? And so I don't like it because there's a difference between doing it in college and doing it in high school. Now, I have a different perspective because I'm a student as well. Mm-hmm. So I grew up for me, sports was never like, I didn't go to a lot of sports games when I was younger. It was always education focused, right? Mm-hmm. So I focused on that. But the thing is, these are high school kids who are transferring schools mid-year, whatever. They still need to this is a high school education. This is the most basic education you can have in life. Sure. You gotta have at least a high school education, right? Mm-hmm. So college, whatever, you transfer board to the NFL. A lot of NFL players think Cam Ward's gonna have a degree, maybe not. I don't know, but he's gonna be a great player.
Absolutely.
In high school, you need to get that degree,
sure,
whatever. So you gotta focus on the academic part of this. A lot of people are gonna say athletically I can transfer. You're one injury away from you having no options left in life. So I think it's just better when you play for your hometown team. There are some extenuating circumstances, like say there's a culture change, the coach gets fired because of some administrative issues. I can understand that a little bit, but just if you're gonna transfer, just do it once and leave it. Just pick a school. There's players who have transferred 4 times in 4 years. There was a player who transferred 5 times in 4 years. I don't get it. I really don't. And I think the one thing that's gonna prove or ring true is you can recruit all you want, but that doesn't mean you're guaranteed a state title. There's a lot of teams that recruit heavy. You know who I'm talking about. There's a lot of teams that recruit heavy that just don't win state. That's how it is. Mm-hmm. And so what you need, I think the best way, and people are going to say throw money at a problem is going to fix it. I don't think so. I think the best way you can do it is to build a good culture and a good foundation. I'll use the Grayson example, right? Sure. Could a Grayson have recruited players? Yes, no. I'm not going to comment on that. But what they did is they have a head coach who's what? Under 30 years old? He's like 20-something?
Yeah.
The culture you have to lose an opening game like that to Collins Hill, and then listen to what everybody's saying, play 3 games in 7 days because of the hurricane, and go and win state over a Carrollton team with Julian Lewis and a bunch of other 4-stars.
Yeah.
That takes culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it might not be the most organic culture, but it's still a culture. Mm-hmm. So I think the instead of recruiting, just build a culture. When you play for each other, things will happen. We see that at Tech, right? We don't have the resources that Georgia has, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have all that. But we can still compete with I think we can compete with anybody in the country. We beat Miami, right? We can compete with anybody in the country because of the culture we have. Because of the culture we have. And I think you can attest to that as a player.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely want to get into Georgia Tech more specifically later. But I'm glad you brought up that point about the culture and just everything. And use Grayson as an example specifically because Grayson is another Gwinnett school. And this is something that I want to speak on. I'm interested to get your insight on as well. But I think that one of the reasons that Gwinnett is so talented at football and one of the reasons that we continue to have players, because one thing that I want to point out is I think Gwinnett does an extremely good job of not only having these star players, but these players actually turning into stars at the next level. And then, specifically North Gwinnett on the next level. Every time we have a 4 or 5 star, you're seeing
He does good,
you're
yeah.
seeing them in the NFL and everything. And I think that is something that is huge. And are you familiar with GFL, Gwinnett Football League?
Yeah.
Yeah, the youth league going up.
Start him young.
I
man.
seriously think, seriously think, and this one is a special shout out to all my viewers who, were followed up with the GFL. I seriously think that the GFL is heavily responsible for that culture of just, good football. And I think Gwinnett players have always been able to withstand stuff and just the competition. We've been competing at the highest level since kids. So do you have anything to say on that?
Well, yeah, and I think that's the way it should work, period. Everywhere across the state. If you know you want your kid to play football, if you know you want to play football, you got to start them in these groups. Build that class when they're young, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they're sixth graders and they're playing middle school football, right? It doesn't matter where in the state. It could be Gwinnett, it could be Camden. I don't care. Just you got to start them young and kind of build that foundation, build that camaraderie at a young age. Because if that sixth grade team forms a great bond, it's going to be good in the seventh grade, in the eighth grade, in the ninth grade, in the 10th grade. I think Milton does some of that as well. And, Milton's won state, but I think a lot of their success.
They got two, don't they?
Well, they have two. Yeah, they won. They just won this one.
Yeah.
But their feeder, their feeder program, or coming up, those teams win because they don't recruit in eighth grade because you can move wherever you want. You're in middle school. But what they can do is they stick together and then they climb up the ranks together. So I think that's better than plug and play. Sure, you're gonna have schools that just want to fill holes or fill gaps, but you want to come up together. That's sorry to go back to college a little bit, but I'm an Ohio State fan, all right? I should probably check the score of the OSU Michigan basketball game right now. But people talk about Ohio State spent $20 million on their roster. They only brought in 3 to 4 players this year. It was Will Howard, it was Quinshawn Judkins, and it was a couple of guys on defense, right? But the rest of that team is experience. They've been there for 2 to 3 to 4 years. That's what helped later on when Jim Knowles was calling plays on defense. Those players were smart enough. Jack Sawyer's an Ohio kid, right? So you can translate those same concepts to the high school level. If you have players that grow up, sure, you could supplement maybe 1 or 2 here and there at key positions, but you gotta start them young, and when you bring that all up together, you're gonna have a great Mill Creek. That's what Mill Creek did.
Seriously.
Mill Creek, all the Caleb Downs, everybody started there.
They've been playing together for a minute.
And it worked out, and it rose. They trusted the process each year, and they got to the top, and nobody could touch them. They rolled through everybody.
Seriously.
I think you got to start it. I love youth league football. Sure, safety concerns, I completely understand. There's a way to make the game safer, but you got to foster that sense of community young, so that when it gets to the high school level, you're already ready to compete with the best of the best. That's where I sit on that.
And yeah, I really do like that. And it was perfect transition where you said, the safety concern, or there are ways to make it safer. Because I didn't know that you were, some in that field. I like to tell people all the time that I have a neuroscience major off YouTube University. You know what I'm saying? I've watched a ton of Andrew Huberman, even just people like psychiatrists like Anna Lipke, all that. I do tons of just research like that, and that is one of the concerns that I do have with football, because I was a player and I saw some big hits in practice. I saw some big hits at game. I've been playing since I was 6 years old, so you know what I'm saying. I understand that there are a ton of risks that come with that. What do you have to say? Being such a fan of football and having somebody who's done research and done the study behind it. What are some of your findings? Because I do want to shed more light on it.
Well, so I'll start by saying this is not going to happen, but actually, oddly enough, the way to make football the safest is to take out helmets. That's oddly the funniest thing, because if you take off the weapon of helmet, everybody is forced to stay away from hitting from the head. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're not rubber. We're going to play football with helmets.
Seriously.
I think probably football's an inherently dangerous game, so there's nothing you can really do to eliminate concussions. They're going to happen. What you need to do is limit repeated concussions. And a lot of people are going to say concussions only when you hit your head. It's not. There's a lot of neck injuries that can lead to concussions. The snapping of the neck is often one of the common reasons for a concussion. At least your brain banging in the side of your skull. So I think Guardian caps are a good start for that.
Do you think we should mandate them?
That's the thing. I don't want to.